guys.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming, making the time for the meeting. We really appreciate it. We're going to try to get out of here by 11 at the latest, if not sooner. That's the reason I sent a lot of you guys stuff at the beginning of the week to review, so we can kind of streamline it. All right. So to first start off, here's some opportunities for funding. Just a quick glance. I can send this out again later. Some brief stuff. And then from the RCD standpoint, we're actually looking to hire a restoration ecologist. So if anyone knows anyone who might be interested, we're starting to distribute it to partners, organizations such as yourself, possibly start posting it. We're looking to hire someone by May this year, hopefully, so we can start applying some more restoration grants and forestry projects, all that good stuff.
Is it a regular permanent? Or
it's gonna turn into a permanent. They're gonna be on a 6-month probationary period, and it's gonna be a it's gonna be a part-time for the first 3 to 6 months. So then after that probationary period, then they get benefits and the whole shebang. Actually, am I standing over here?
Steve Jansen.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys are interested in the drought or the soon-to-be reinstated drought, possibly. Some interesting numbers, just some food for thought.
Always a specter of drought.
All right, just a brief overview of what we're going to kind of talk about today. Already did some announcements, introductions. We're going to approve the steering committee membership tables. You guys hopefully signed in on your way in, providing some contact information. We're asking for some phone numbers just for some quicker contact. They would connect to people faster if we need to. So that's up to your choice if you want to provide that, but please update the emails, the direct point of contact. We're going to go over the charter revisions that I proposed. We're going to discuss the budget, and then we're going to discuss the agenda for the next year for topics for meetings, for the general meetings. So as a recap about what's happened, we've had our general meeting on February 11th, which many of you have not all joined for that one, about the Matilla Dam project. Interesting meeting, we had a great turnout. We must have had about 50 people at least, I would say, 50 to 60. We hit our goal, so that was great. They're wanting to possibly come back, the county, to present at the end of the year and give an update, thinking about doing it twice a year. They're expressing they like the outreach of the message and the involvement. So it'll be really exciting to have them come here and present that opportunity. We had our last leadership committee meeting in November of last year, as you all remember. We discussed some nuts and bolts also, very similar to this meeting. We amended the charter. We'll be able to do that again. We have our next general meeting on April 2nd of next month. So moving forward, we'll probably have another leadership committee meeting at the end of this year. We're aiming to have meetings about every other month for the general meeting council, so we can hit our 7 to 8 minimum meetings per year, 2 in the evening. That's in the charter. And then just a reminder to open our emails, reply, add us to your spam folder, please. I keep getting kickbacks on some people about spam. It happens, I get it. We send out a lot of emails. It is what it is, but please try to remember to do that. All right, so we'll give a quick little 1 to 2 minute, 2 to 3, but roundtable discussion. Just any kind of introduction, any announcements that you guys want to make for your organization. Start over here.
Ventura River Watershed.
Kelly Dyer, Casitas. Kate Furlong, Surgeon Director of Ventura Ventures.
Steve Alderman, Supervisor Minutes Office. Finance Office, Ventura County Public Works Agency.
Lynn Jensen, Ventura County Cold Foundation, and also program treasurer. Jennifer Trudeau, City of Ventura.
Paul Jenkins, writer, Matilla Coalition. Tom Maloney, the new director of Ohio Valley Election Services.
Sam Jack, State Coastal Conservancy. And by way of comments with respect to the Matilla Dam project and Peter's desire to come back and present later in the year, I think what we're interested in the management team for the project is actually, since we share the common stakeholders, it's just, we're hoping that the Dillon Dam project stakeholder group will just kind of merge with this one, and rather than having a separate meeting, stakeholder group twice per year, we just insert that into one of these meetings twice per year, hopefully saving other people's time and helping the council meet 7 to 8 meetings per year. So that was our desire, is to, rather than give it a whole other meeting for people to go to. And since this one already has a couple of night meetings built in, we can do it possible. So that was our intent.
Does that require any formalization? I think it's a great idea.
Well, that's why I bring it up. This advisory council.
Do you see it as requiring any sort of formalization, or just be a direction of our leadership council that if the agenda is that way for future meetings?
I don't know. That's why I brought it up for discussion.
Yeah, I think keep in mind that this committee prioritized the Dillon Dam project. It's a big project in the watershed. We kind of share commonality with. Years ago now, I don't know exactly when. Everybody's got their own projects going on, but this sort of affects a lot of watershed.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, but you're to memorialize it in any fashion other than just a motion.
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess, I mean, if we just keep it on the agenda, you know, and have a planning, like we had a discussion before with me and David about when we're ready for it. As long as, is there any opposition, I guess, to it? Anyone will voice an opposition to it?
I don't, not opposition, but I'm relatively new, so if you could just give me some background on the participants and the other meetings that have been occurring versus the participants that would be in this group. Is it open to the public?
Yes.
Those kind of questions. I just, what's the difference in the groups?
There really isn't.
Yeah, you know, this place is small enough that we're all the same people.
And that's why we saw this as and to be frank, the intent of the Ventura Dam restoration projects, I guess, management group was that we would be meeting with the larger stakeholder group at least once a year, sometimes twice a year. And we're getting more into more activity on the project right now, which I think it makes sense to have a couple of meetings a year of the stakeholders. We haven't been doing that. We've been meeting with every couple of years, like 2.5 sometimes. And so this just seems like a really good way to say, this is what we're going to be part of. It's all the same people. They're both public meetings that the public can attend. The stakeholder list here is probably a little larger, which is a new benefit to the project as well. So the mailing list. So it's for all those reasons.
Yes, I have one question to the time frame. You would take over the entire meeting for the 2 things you're talking about, or is it our presentation?
I think that would be a little bit dependent on how much stuff is going on. I think if we're meeting a couple times a year, I would expect maybe one would be, a specific, and one would be like an hour meeting or something like that, an update. This last one, we have a little bit more to that.
How long does that be?
It was 5 to 6 to 9, 8:30, so 2.5 hours, and it was front to back. It was packed, so it went until we were. Personally, I mean, I would assume looking at them as inviting them as a speaker, because I don't see them as making any decision on the decision level as this committee is. So my understanding is as long as we still invite them as a speaker at these meetings, I don't see any memorandum that needs to be made in the charter, unless anyone sees otherwise. That would be my view, is that we just means inviting them to be a speaker and a presenter, like we do at every meeting, where we have someone else come and talk about a topic of interest. Mhm.
Or advertised as a joint meeting, I think we could just implement it.
Yeah.
Maybe we should vote on number 6 on the agenda, the 2020 agenda and topics rather than number updates.
Yeah.
That's it.
We'll vote on it.
Do your thing.
Appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much for that discussion, guys. Lynn, did you want to say anything?
Only have begun the Watershed Coalition. I will be talking to
All right, sounds good. We'll move right on through then, guys. All right, so first and foremost, we can discuss the budget. Just right off the bat, we didn't propose any change in the budget this year. And that's going to be staying like that for the remainder of this work plan. There's a few reasons for that. First, you'll see, oh, I'm sorry, guys, I'm one slide ahead of myself. Let's talk about the committee updates first. So everyone confirmed the email up front, that's great. We need a vote to adopt the steering committee members, which I should have at the top here actually, which is Julia and Susan. Now keep in mind the agencies that they are with. We have Exodus Water in the city of Ventura. So they have not been officially adopted into that role yet. They were an intermittent position last year due to some outstanding circumstances. That is different. They're still interested in becoming in these roles. So we do need to do a vote now, or would you guys open the floor to a discussion first about possibly appointing some other steering committee members?
I'll move the 2 volunteers who stepped up for that responsibility, I think.
Second it, all right. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, it passes, they're adopted.
Does everybody feel like comfortable with knowing what the steering committee does, what their role is?
I would love some description. Thank you.
Just very quickly, each of the 3 representatives has 2 representatives of the watershed host 2 WCDC steering committee meetings, and the role of the steering committee member is to be at these meetings, report back in the steering committee meetings, the interests on behalf of the watershed represented, and then to bring back to this group information about steering meetings. So ideally, the steering committee, and that's really to the general membership, the general group, not necessarily just the membership group, because they're not being elected. So at the next meeting, there's going to be probably an update on the agenda of the meeting in April. There were the 2 steering committee members. We are having a fair amount of steering committee activity right now. We have a meeting and a meeting next week to take care of some watershed coalition business that has to do with the work plan and budget, and where we're going next year. Some other policy around the budget. So it's really, I think, important that 2 steering committee members, and not here today, but to be attending meetings and then to be reporting back. So if anybody wants more information, there is a little document that was produced a while back when we were recruiting for steering committee members that explains things a little more detail because what the steering committee is. The schedule isn't really regular. We sort of meet as needed, but we're trying to get more regular. So we're planning 3 meetings in the steering committee this year. We're already going to have 2 before the middle of March, so I expect we'll have more meetings this year. And then, as you probably know, one of the more important responsibilities for the general membership to vote and the steering committee to also make recommendations has to do with project selection. And we will not have another grant cycle until next year. So right now we want to take that time to take care of business and catch up on things we weren't really doing because we were so busy getting projects added to the plan.
Thank you very much, Lynn. Appreciate that.
I'd like to interject just for a moment. If you could please raise your voice, use your outside voice. Our microphone isn't as sensitive as we'd like it to be, and so some of the audio is not carrying through to the members on the phone. So if we could just remember to project. Thank you.
I'll move this up real quick. I don't know how much it will help. But.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll block out. Okay, so that they could hear.
All right, well, I'm happy here that we have some joining us in the webcast even for this meeting. All right, and just keep in mind I upload all this stuff after everything we discuss is public and posted the week after. Last but not least, Kelly's already introduced herself. Welcome. She'll be filling in until she finds someone else in the position, and then she'll float into the auction. That's the game. All right, moving on forward. So we're discussing charter revisions, proposed charter changes. I sent you guys some draft changes on Monday. So I'm just going to go over it real quickly, and then we'll have a little discussion about it. One of the first changes was clarifying who pays dues. I know it seems, I guess nominal, you think this would be in the charter. It was not clearly defined in the charter who is paying dues. So I did clarify that as the leadership committee members. Secondly, as watershed managers, the RCD, we are still need to pay dues because we are on the leadership committee. So I have clarified that for in-kind services or direct payments. Clarified what dues are used for, staff positions and watershed managers. Talk about action for inactive leadership committee members, which has said that the leadership committee has the power to remove the member, but didn't discuss how. So I added that form as required for discussion. Clarified how letters of, and for replacement also form. Clarified how letters of support are handled, a consensus form among the leadership executive committee, which we discussed in November, but we didn't actually define how that is. But I proposed the leadership executive committee. And then lastly is proposing an opportunity penalty for those who don't pay by the end of fiscal year, because we are having issues with some members not paying the full dues. That can be due to a multitude of reasons, which we're going to get into the next slide. But please keep that in mind as we're moving over into the budget conversation. An opportunity penalty by sense would mean it's nothing fiscally. We don't have power. That's not the point of the group, but they would either be abstained from voting, from benefits that you guys get, just directly being a leadership committee member, and all that kind of stuff. So, did anyone have any discussion about the revisions, any changes?
Yeah, I drafted up some revisions that would go from consensus quorum, which is rather nebulous, to a simple majority vote, which is clear. Those changes be adopted, which I favor read word by word, or making decisions by majority vote of the leadership committee rather than consensus quorum, whatever that is. And also a portion about support letters for grants, et cetera. I made some revisions to allow that also to be by majority vote by either communication such as email or other personal communication rather than
The digital communication already. And
Yeah. I was going to say, I think that with respect to the support letter is important because oftentimes they come in late. It's hard to get everybody's consensus on that.
And I did have that in mind. I didn't have that, so thank you for bringing that up too. I would agree with that. Anyone have any discussion about that? Yeah, or his language. I could also distribute it after this meeting too, for it to be going around the council, but if you'd like to read it, whatever you guys want.
I'd like to read it, I think, because I'm not sure what kinds of things would be voted on, and if the group is voting on something that affects a particular entity, I think that entity should have veto power. So that the rest of the group isn't imposing something on a particular entity, so. I would like to consider that more, because I have a better understanding of what types of things are being voted on and whether, the group can decide something for for an agency that they don't particularly want.
Okay, so, meetings.
Sure. So this would be under behavior attendance membership, item number 6. It currently says a quorum of the leadership committee is required to remove an inactive member. And I changed that to a majority vote of the leadership required. This would be under the section that is behavior, attendance, and membership.
Page 4.
Number 6. Or just simply be a majority vote of leadership. And below that, it says the leadership committee can replace the inactive member of their organization. We would say a quorum on behalf of the leadership committee is required to make a consensus decision to adopt a new member. I'd like to take that out. Because it already says that the leadership.
Thank you.
So you're changing the language to consensus decision.
Is it a simple majority of the leadership committee? Or does that have to be a simple?
Well, typically you have a section that says,
Yeah, but I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't, but you voted on anything outside of the meeting saying by full leadership. So if somebody wasn't present at the meeting,
Do they need to be in attendance? Yeah, do they need to be in attendance for the vote? I would say that they should be in attendance for the vote because it's justification of a meeting to receiving the agenda beforehand. Any important topics are typically highlighted beforehand. You can also join remotely too. So I mean, there's various options for the members to be here. And so if they elect they can't make it or their alternate can't make it and they can't call in, I believe that's their possible.
Yeah, currently, I believe the consensus form would be just 5.
Yeah, it is.
And so in some cases, a simple majority, depending on the attendance, might even be strict, potentially more than 5. But the attendance number that's based on whether it's a simple majority or a quorum has to be based off of something. So either in attendance, physically or remotely, or something based on baseline. Evaluate like that majority. Yeah, so the simple majority ones may be more restrictive again than the baseline. Then we need potentially more than just 5. Because right now it would be 2, 4, we need at least 6.
So
Yes.
it sounds like we're in agreement to change it to Steve's proposition, make it a simple majority of attendance. All right. Thank you, Steve.
okay, and then under 7, I added the one that says leadership views, and it says the work plan will include a yearly budget that is supported by leadership membership dues and added in any other revenues.
I'm sorry, which one was that under?
That's number 7, right below previous revisions. So it says the annual work plan will include a yearly budget that is supported by leadership committee membership dues, and I added and any other revenues in case assuming the work should arrive.
think it's a good idea.
The original language had sort of stated entities, which is very nice. I think adding in the addition of revenue provides that potential stream. Whereas the
Any grant or something or other, or donation?
Yeah. No, I agree.
I think it's in the spirit of the original language, but it tightens it up a bit if we change it to that.
I would agree with that.
And one further, leadership committee members paying dues, I do not believe that this is certain secret. Dues paying member. Just
You're-
like for realistic.
you are not, that's been historically in it, not paying dues. So yeah, that will remain moving forward, that framework. Moving on to the opportunity penalty. Like I said, there are some members that have not paid and are refusing to pay for the full allotment until we give a better justification, which is understandably so, correct? But I do want to propose that opportunity cost or opportunity penalty, because, you guys have your stake in the game. So it's only fair.
Mr. Conservancy, want to contribute as it?
I don't know who can. That's. And I think it would be a.
What that means.
In the past, I don't think of that. But I'm, historically, we have been the representation of the state. in this watershed. I don't personally feel like it's important for us to have this local watershed council. I think I can provide information from the state. I'm also happy to. So that's what I want.
And as we were debating that language about that thought didn't come. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why it's very, very important that we're making these suggestions, but it's really up to leadership to decide what that language should look like. We're just offering up where there are issues that need to be addressed.
A question about the other revenues. Because of the WCB grant and other grants that we're pursuing potentially successfully, are there little amounts of money from those grants that can be used to bolster the references group, since this is the stakeholder group for those activities?
Yeah, so for example, speaking to the WCB grant, I think there's about $7,000 in the watershed position. And so that $7,000 basically goes towards the budget to offset $7,000 or to augment those. So as we look forward to meetings that are occurring in the watershed based on the WCB over the next 2 or so years, those efforts that we would be partaking in and what would be billed towards the council, would be billed towards the watershed. I mean, to the WCB. Yes.
This sort of is a future agenda item, but this leadership committee did you guys came on and figure out how to fund this long term, and that was one of the suggestions that would come up. If the watershed council was actually engaged in projects, then those projects could.
Exactly, and that's why when we have these meetings, for example, with the Tillahaw group, that's important because it brings together all these different funding opportunities and funding needs. So as stakeholders, we can engage together to meet. And so that's why moving forward, those types of meetings that are about a topic that involve, individuals who are doing work in the watershed already are very, very important. And that's why we want to move forward with that kind of structure. Bring everybody together so we can talk about what we've got, what we need, so that then we're all on the same page about what part of that would be to try to bolster the watershed permitting position, and use that as leverage to get other projects as well. So the WCB grant is the first sort of real opportunity, I think, where we were able to get funding actually supplement what's already being used. And also at the same time further the entire group's interest as the myriad of different projects that the WCB project encompasses.
Yeah, that's a perfect model, because that's exactly the type of project that wasn't getting off the ground because of the watershed council. That's the kind of coordination. So that's exactly kind of where we're coming from.
And I would also say that's why things like this charter language and figuring out, who's going to be at the table so that everybody's comfortable being at the table is important, because as we look forward to round 2 for IRWM funding, we need to be already positioned to be able to leverage the conversations we're having and the projects that are going on. So we want to get all this nuts and bolts stuff out of the way so that we all have clarity about what we're doing forward. Because that's another opportunity where we can get, hopefully, enough stakeholders across the aisles engaged so that we have multi-beneficial projects that include a variety of different types of stakeholders. That's the goal. That's the point.
All right, thank you guys for the discussion. I'll draft up these. See.
One last revision, that could be on page 5, where it talks at the top of the page, under item 4, review and approval of request letters of support. I added at the end of that, said approval may be by individual personal communication rather than in a meeting. Representative committee, we can turn around and print support letters.
Very fortunate. Yeah.
Because as you brought that up, I'm just going to reappoint for another WCB grant. We were going to move for letters of support. That's what we looked at.
I was going to draft these changes up with stage revisions and distribute it through the group. And because we still have to present this to the General Assembly Council at least 7 days before our next meeting, before we can make any adoption. So we couldn't adopt today, actually, until it's been seen by the General Membership Council moving forward. Would the April 2nd meeting be too late for a letter of support for you?
Why don't we just accept that now and just distribute it to the leadership?
I was going to say we could just vote
by
on it.
email. I mean, typically, we would normally do that anyway last minute.
Right, and that's kind of the way it works.
Yeah. So it wouldn't run afoul of what we've been doing past.
Just so you know, we're applying for a $500 grant. The final design is against.
All right then. Oh, good go.
Oh, I just, does it include utility relocation requirements?
Yeah, that's part of the design.
All right then. Could I help? I thought we decided to go with it. We didn't have any opposition. Did you have?
Oh, I'm fine with it. I think so. Punish yourselves by reloading the meeting.
Okay. That is good.
Yeah, I do think that there needs some kind of language, just to indicate that you're important, you need to be engaged, and not engaged. But yes, we don't want to back ourselves in the corner, and this is supposed to be a completely inclusive group. there has to be an opportunity to disagree. But there has to be some kind of language in that says, look, the function of this, if you believe in the function of this group, it has to be supported in some way.
Thank you for that addition. All right, well, could we have,
So, did your question get answered, Kelly? Because over time, this group has, taken votes on certain things. And a consensus approach was established with the council when we got a grant from the Department of Conservation, Watershed Coordinator grant. And Bert was there, Paul was there, we were there, talking about votes for the plan itself, because it was a concern. You were concerns about the plan, and I guess a lot of them were there. The importance of the consensus approach for the plan when the plan was finalized. And we had a great, I think, sort of thumbs up, if there was anybody that thumbs up with the final watershed management plan. But your question about sometimes wanting to bring a particular kind of action back, either to or if it's impacts you or any of the entities here. And I just wanted to say that so far, I don't think any actions by this group have done anything that would be crosswise with an individual member. But did you get your question answered?
I think so, because it sounded like the language that was changing was very specific to membership, whether you're in or out. And so I was wanting to have that clarified. I'll give another example of the budget and how costs are allocated. It's not fair for the group to decide for, a particular entity to pay for an unfair share. So that's kind of where I was coming from, as an example of, just to make sure that there's fairness with how the voting is.
And to be clear, the leadership committee, this group here has the opportunity to weigh in on things like charter language, et cetera. But if a group isn't part of the leadership committee, they certainly are welcome to come to the general membership meetings, in which case they have an equal opportunity to voice whatever it is that they like to the entire group on which action to take. So just to clarify.
So as I understood, the language that's changing is really specific to membership participation.
Mhm.
So it's not, the voting structure for other issues is not necessarily changing.
well, if we go to a consensus vote, it will be easy for our voting structure.
For all.
Yeah, there should be a voting structure for consensus.
Are we changing it to the simple majority?
Well,
I only propose changing the section of
Yeah.
removal of inactive members.
Okay.
oh, my apologies.
And again, because just based on, again, with the quorum, we only need 5. That's it. I mean, so it could be 5 members leadership committee members who make that decision. The simple majority change, it actually becomes a little bit more capacity for there to be conversation, because now it may need to include 6 or 7.
My apologies. Thank you for clarifying that. That's a misunderstanding. So it just on member removal.
Well, the consensus quorum is a minimum of 5, but if more than 5 show up that day, you would still need consensus for everyone who was there.
Yeah, it's a change.
Okay, because that's not.
For just the
More
member.
of it is. Five is the minimum.
Right.
So you have for people, that's all the short. Five is the legal. You're saying they're just getting 5 people.
If we're a consensus quorum, then it gets to that whole thumbs up thing. So if it's a consensus quorum type issue, then I think everybody has to have a thumbs up or neutral. I don't think you can have a thumbs down. So the depends on that section.
That's under decision-making
You can
on
have
page
those.
3 is.
Yeah, there's a structure, so depending on what the particular thing is being voted on, it requires a consensus forum, then you have to have a consensus, which means that you have either a thumbs up or a neutral, but you can't have any dissension.
Otherwise, it gets tabled for further
Where
discussion.
in here is the definition of consensus?
For decision making,
On page 3.
And I was comfortable with it for that, which means that particular section.
for the members.
You know, if it's a change to a larger voting process, I.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, just for that membership section.
Does that make sense, Lynn? The consensus forum as it's drafted, and again, this was drafted into the charter.
So for all voting, it's consensus form except for this, the membership, and then for the letters.
Yeah, I think that's being proposed.
That's what he's proposing.
So
Just
for
sign the
those two
letters.
items, it's simple majority, but for anything else, it's consensus or 75%. At least.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
we're only considering the leadership committee membership, and then the support letters. Those are the only thing that are discussion.
Yep.
That- There is an overarching structure to the other sections that are required.
Still remaining themselves.
And you're
I just don't see a clear definition of what consensus is.
Right? Let me see.
Yeah, defines quorum, defines consensus.
A quorum, on page 3, under decision making, the third sentence down, a quorum is a minimum of 5 of the current members of the leadership committee. A consensus decision is one that all members either support or neutral about, and no members explicitly cannot support.
Yeah. And the way it was, I think, thought out was like Lynn indicated, thumbs up, thumb neutral, thumb down. Can't have any thumbs down, but we haven't actually had everybody reach
Yeah.
So any member then could veto it.
Well, I mean, it has a provision for, if you, it just requires additional discussion, can't reach, you can't,
Yeah.
reach, if you can't,
Get a consensus.
go back and forth, you know. Yeah, negotiate and, modify it, so that everyone's in agreement that you can pass it.
Yeah, on page it discusses it.
Which is still a pretty high bar. That's exceeds.
I don't think we've ever had a one person that's come
Yeah.
into place. That's what I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's another time I can't remember it. All right, well, thank you everyone for the great discussion. I'll draft these changes and distribute it to the group next week for further discussion and then hopefully adoption at the next meeting. Did we want to do a vote for Paul's letter of support? To move that forward, to vote if we will be able to do that, and I'll distribute that letter of support, even though he just left. Yeah, very well. So can I get a motion to vote? This is your guys' discussion about how we want to do that. Do we want to, because he said the next April 2nd date was going to be too late for them.
Yeah, can you distribute it?
I'll distribute it first through email, and then we haven't addressed that yet, how we go through email for approval.
Is there anything in this charter?
No, not that I recall talking about that email revision, because when Steve brought up that for what he's saying, it's very efficient because it's not in there. So, great.
It would just be a major, I think it should just be a majority. Propose it be a majority of the entire committee. Whoever chooses to respond.
Okay,
So if
great.
you don't respond, you're not going to say yes, you're not going to do that.
Yeah, I'll include language in there for the voting so that it's very obvious that if you're not responding, you're not including your vote. You're remaining absent from it. That's a great idea. Thank you. Yeah.
Is this organization subject to the roundup?
I don't think so. We do not
And again, just to reinforce, sorry, just to reinforce, we are just asking for motions for language because we can draft that up, but it's actually going to have to be the general membership's opportunity to review it before we can even do anything.
Yeah, I agree.
And they have to have the opportunity to see those proposed changes or we can have to do. So,
But in the current charter, there's no formal process for approving letters of support. So
exactly.
No.
we're kind of going above, so I would be okay with going ahead and implementing that process even though it hasn't been.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I meant. Historically, we've just kind of said, hey, does this sound good? And we've had nobody say, no, that's terrible. And it fits with the mission. We've just gone ahead and done it. The fact of the matter remains that the charter doesn't expressly give us a mechanism. So it's easy.
All right, great. So we'll have him send that and I'll distribute that to everyone accordingly as fast as possible. Paul, just real quick, sorry, as you're walking in, not to point you out. So we discussed that if you could send that request for the letter of support, we'd distribute it to the group and then we'd take a vote by email.
Okay.
Just so we're not voting before we actually see the document.
Okay.
Question. So as soon as you send that, I'll shoot it out to everyone else.
Just sort of fresh my memory on the support letter, is that a letter stating the support of the watershed? So, or is it letters supporting stating the support of specific members?
Watershed Council, okay, as a whole, entirety. So that's why the vote is very important. All right.
Might be good if you're going to send something.
Okay.
Needs to go.
Yeah, and I'll make sure to include the language.
And also specify the time frame.
But this is exactly what we need is current updated information. Also, everybody on leadership, particularly because these type of communications can be kind of sensitive. And, you know, we just want to make sure because we don't want somebody to say, well, I would totally not want that letter to go out, but I somehow didn't get the email. We need to be. It always happens. We want to minimize that.
Add us to your spam filters. All right, great discussion. Thank you everyone for that. Moving on, and then the sake of time. All right, so the budget. On the left here, this is our current funding that's been decided on. Now to the right here, you're seeing funding broken down by an Excel sheet that we received discussing funding in 2014. That Excel sheet discussed funding in terms of population served. It's a very, for lack of better wording, hairy Excel worksheet. It's kind of hard to understand how they actually got these numbers. Don't know how out of date the numbers really are, and where they're sourced from. So we're not proposing any change in budget for this coming work plan in June. Kind of keep it as is, continue with business as usual, and try to discuss this over this topic of this meeting and over the next year to decide how we really want this framework. Because if we're going to be having new members coming in, we really should have a defined framework. Your organization falls into this category because of X, Y, and Z. That doesn't exist right now. So I'd like to open the discussion to seeing what you guys provide. I have funding by category and population served. Again, both of these were pulled directly from the original funding Excel sheet. That was done by someone who is no longer in the state. So yeah, let's open the discussion.
June fiscal year?
Yes.
June fiscal?
Yes.
So, Herb, you would have handed.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, we've had some discussions about it. Did you want to give any, yeah,
Population service is fine, and I just reiterate that this is kind of guideline, that it give organizations just a perspective of how they relate in their contribution proportion to how big they are. So people know where to start thinking about their giving. It is a voluntary contribution that all of us make to keep this organization going.
that's good. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Golden State is on there.
That's the old.
Oh, that's the, are they on there?
Zero.
That was when we were looking at paying for a part-time, half-time or full-time person. 3 or 4 years ago. The table to the left is.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, yeah, some of these on the right are just correctable and modified. I would say it might be easiest to do funding by category. How we break up that category is a different discussion. Population served can get a little hairy when you're talking about breaking up the watershed, just because of population dynamics between upper and lower watersheds.
Because we're a wholesale agency that provides water to other agencies who are the retail agencies, so it's double counting the population.
And this is why for us it was difficult. We weren't involved in this, but these are the numbers that underpin the current dues. And so the question has been raised about, well, we should probably be revisiting that because we want it to be fair and equitable, and we also want to be able to defend the position of whatever the dues are expected. Because I think that's the only way to have an honest conversation about the value.
Yeah, because there are, like I said, it's members that are having issues with the distribution of the dues, and it's hard at this time to justify that distribution and justifiably say that you do owe us the remaining balance, because there is some discrepancy between agencies about what they're paying.
Would be a good idea, which we've done in the past, to have a subcommittee created to sit down and try to figure that out. That's how it's been before.
So,
And I think this was back for WCBC anyway. John Korea, sanitary, was the one who created this formula that for the whole WCBC. Back in that time when we started this council, my time was fully funded. Cayugas didn't pay into the part of the time that we spent serving this group and the rest. It was sort of, that wasn't real a detailed analysis. It was just a guess. Now that the council actually has its own set of dues, and I don't know if is John still here?
Yes.
John, yeah, I think John Three was here. He took a big hand in it. I think his name's in the subject line of the file.
John and I were working together.
It seems like another subcommittee is in order, because I don't think this group is going to be able to figure that out without. There's a lot of thought that needs to go into it if you're going to change it, which.
Well, we could elect it to the leadership executive committee to actually take that on as a role this year and decide this over the course of the year. And
Just one suggestion I would have is maybe putting a cap on it, so population served up to a certain point. Is one, there's various ways you could do it, but
Yeah, I think
I don't know if you're looking at how much is being paid based on population served versus value. But, some agencies are getting a lot of value out of this forum, but not paying, a relative amount of share of the cost. So it's, I think further discussion in the group, maybe subcommittee, and maybe spreading the costs a little bit more to have it distributed based on benefits as well. And I totally understand, the larger agencies have larger population and but it doesn't mean we have more money though. So, our funds are pretty low. And we just want to be careful. We do this for the future.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think doing it strictly by obligation is difficult. I think it seems like the way it is now, it's more by category that considered population. And I think, it should be, like Lily said, a look at the type of organization that it is, the benefit it gets from this, but also recognizing that organization's revenue stream too. So, I mean, I think big picture, this is pretty fair in terms of nitpicking, but, I think the basic structure is larger agencies are paying more, smaller nonprofits are paying less. I think it'd be interesting to hear who isn't paying and their objection to that, and if they're really not getting a benefit. So I think that's probably something, either we can have that conversation here, or we could have an executive committee. That's probably where it goes. We're gonna have a budget where we're just not gonna collect the revenue year after year. That doesn't really make sense. We might as well just go ahead and say, if this organization is gonna object repeatedly and doesn't see a benefit participating, then regulations needs to.
My recollection of the emails and revisited this for my Victor or whatever it was, is that it wasn't so much, number wasn't so much generated by population served as by more operation budget, annual operation budget. And that's why you have smaller nonprofits doing less, and then things like the watershed protection district and water and disease fair share of business, which pretty clearly is a pretty good decline of operations. But you could also argue that I'm sure where it comes from, very strategic operations.
All right, well, it sounds like we'll move this we'll table the topic to the Leadership Executive Committee, and I'll make plans to start organizing that committee in the next few weeks, and we'll move on from there. That's just how it was broken down. So right now, we're actually funded at a quarter time for the position. That's about 12 hours a week. And that's just how it was originally broken down. I think the idea behind that was to have that full-time position going to create that robust, self-sustaining position in the council. You're now funding on the left the 27,000, and this is quarter time.
And to be honest, I mean, you guys aren't really capturing everything you need to do the work you do.
Well,
Yeah, there's some overlap in that sense, and we do go above and beyond sometimes in the role, but as we said, we didn't change the budget this year just because we couldn't justify the increase, even though we do know that the needs sometimes expand the funds. But we're working within it, and we think that next year we'll be able to present a much more better argument.
yeah, personally and professionally, I mean, I would, until I have defensible reasoning behind the budget numbers, I wouldn't feel comfortable asking for an expansion of the budget.
Exactly.
I mean, that ethically, that's just not appropriate for me. So we're operating under the existing budget, hoping that there will be clarity about that budget moving forward for the 2020. And it's not just for us. I mean, if the council decides that they want to look around.
Well, that value proposition, through every row of that table, what's the value proposition? How do we make those allocations action? That's really the question. What does the work that mean? Our organization. Not just, I'm speaking as a mayor.
good point. Thank you.
It's really bullish.
And back to the why are we, what is it we want to, the group wants to do and what level of funding is needed. I mean, when this conversation happened and that table on the right was created was when the grant ran out from the Department of Conservation. We had a full-time plus staff, Lorraine, and some other grants that she was able to obtain, probably 1.5 or more than that during some years of the grant. When she said, grant's gone, what is the group going to do? How do we continue? There wasn't an appetite to fund at the level of even time among the firms here. I mean, I think it's perfectly good now to go back to that meeting we had in 2018 where we sat down. The executive leadership committee sat down and said, we can have anything we wanted, what would we want? And it came up with down the road, we would love to have 2 full-time. I mean, that was the consensus of that group meeting. So we're a long way from that, at the 27,000. So I guess going through the work plans, people have to organically decide what is it the group should be doing. And are we doing what we want to be doing, or is there more we want to do? And if there is more we want to do, let's summarize that.
Exactly. That's exactly true.
And for me, as the watershed coordinator, our role is to facilitate the conversation and facilitate what the group wants to happen in the watershed. So that's why it's so important that we have meetings that involve all the stakeholders that are driven by stakeholders, because that demonstrates that we are able to help organize, those projects, broadcast them to the group, and then bring in other stakeholders. So it's, for me, critically important that everybody here in the organizations that they represent engage in the actual watershed council membership meetings to project what they're doing. That way we have to demonstrate our value.
Exactly. That's what we plan to do next year.
Our goal is to demonstrate our value.
Now that we're starting to be in this role now for a longer term, other than inheriting the better half last year, that's exactly what we envision, is proving our worth over the course of the next year. So that's also an increase in that.
Yeah, I don't mean to be a wet blanket about it, but we have, I know we're a larger agency, but we're facing very serious budget cuts right now. So, so I really appreciate the conversation that's happening, and then there could be some consideration of trying to spread the costs relative to the benefits.
Well, I think that if we can come up with a baseline number that makes sense for everybody, then there can also be associated waiting factors. So maybe there's a contingency column that is for budget cuts or things like that, and then a particular weighting function. So that ends up calculating a value that's based off of the underlying number, but we have to decide what that underlying number and the logic of it is.
Alrighty. Well, I will table the rest of the conversation unless we have any other outstanding comments or concerns.
Well, just, I think going back to our prior discussions, the intent, I think, was ideally we would have an entity here that would be able to implement our watershed. Right? What does that mean? And that was something we never really came to consensus on, is what exactly that meant in terms of implementing our watershed. Now with Sigma and other things in the watershed, there's potentially some very real tangible goals that we need as a watershed. And I think that the role and the function of the watershed council really needs to ramp up. And I think that the watershed council can help with public outreach and the coordination that's going to be required to get to where we need to be. It's a much bigger discussion, but when we were limited in funding, it came back to what can we do with this funding, and basically it's just create a forum for people to get together and update the community on what's going on. And that's where we're at. The question is, can we do more?
Yeah, especially like you said, there's a lot of activity going on, particularly in the Ventura River Watershed. Not even talk about state line. There's a lot of activity going on, so things move very quickly. And so there's just a lot of behind the scenes activity that has to happen to keep everybody up to date. And then with the IRWM round 2 coming up, and then perhaps alterations to that, and moving forward with our portfolio, how do we configure this group to be best equipped to handle that and those opportunities.
And then, I mean, Kelly Clifford, who has had a watershed protection district, made the point of what are the costs, what are the benefits that are hard to see, but as we provide feedback on the flow study and some of the other things, try to stay abreast of what's happening with SEMA, groups like this that go across a lot of interests can actually keep our long-term costs of regulation lower. It's hard to make that direct connection, but as a group, writing letters or advising state agencies on that, you have a benefit that might be hard to go to your board and say, look, we did this and we didn't have to do X because we fought X in this group. So I think it's always really important to think about the larger benefit of what this group is able to accomplish by crossing barriers or working together collaboratively.
Yeah.
Especially in this day of adjudications and other things that are putting pressure on people to kind of go back to their own interests. This group is a collaborative consensus-based organization. Very good. Sorry.
Yeah, and I want to make sure to step back to the perspective. We're just trying to lay the groundwork because this is going to be something that could potentially come up over and over and over again moving forward. This is a group, this is a budget issue, and how things will determine. I mean, it's not our goal to sort of bring the money part of it to the forefront. It's just something that has to be dealt with underneath. Let's not forget, the more important part of this whole meeting is really the conversation about support letters, because this consensus group carries a lot of weight. That support letter question about showing that we as watershed support this entity's project because it fits with all the rest of our watershed goals is actually more important in my mind. We shouldn't lose sight of that, but being able to provide that sort of consensus to support individual projects is the value of what this council does. We review these projects and they're great and they fit well. We support it. So from a funding perspective, that carries a lot of
Okay, thank you, everyone. Moving on, wrapping it up here. All right, so discussion about our meeting topics. One thing that, is in the charter specifically in the Leadership Executive Council, but we want to try to get the council a little bit more involved with the public idea. There's different ideas for that. Maybe have a council member, one of you guys, discuss or present on a topic, which has happened. Just to kind of get your face in front of the public, to know who's leading this council in what direction. This an idea about moving forward, possibly. And then, it is the role of the council to help decide on agendas and topic items moving forward for the year. As we're trying to move forward and create a regular meeting schedule now. As I said in the beginning, we're hoping to meet with the general council every other month, keep us active, keep us going. We hope it's, not too much, but it's not too little that they forget about us either, which is nice. So we have some proposed recommendations for the future meeting topics. In the April meeting, we're going to be discussing water budget SGMA. Think about in June, talking about some climate adaptations. August, IRWM projects and updates. Of course, this is subject to change on the time frame, except kind of the April one. October, talking about fire resiliency and preparedness, possibly Matilda Dam removal project update in November, and water security in December. So this is kind of the action plan we're thinking about moving forward for the council now. The question is, that's just our thoughts. And that's the direction that we see the council may want to be going. Now, is this the direction that you guys want it to be? Do you want a different topic, set of topics? That's why I'm opening up the next discussion topic for. Because if we can set these meetings a year in advance, our attendance are going to go up. People are going to be happy with it. They're going to know we're a regularly meeting group and the importance of it. So please, I'll open the discussion for anyone about these topic ideas, if there's any opposition or discussion even.
This is a great start. So what concept of water budgets are you thinking would be discussed?
So we're actually going to have Tom Ash come and present and talk about it. A lot of these are going to be discussed by presenters. I'm in conversations from them this week. I'm actually getting a breakdown of what he's going to discuss. So we kind of have that. It's actually going to and then maybe discuss SUMA relation to take you call for that recommendation too. Tom Ash is Lynn might be able to speak better for me on this one, but if I recall right, he worked in Inland Empire Water District. Was it Irvine Ranch?
That's where he started, I don't know. He's an
Right.
independent consultant now.
Now he's an independent consultant, and he's worked on water budgets. He's known for the talks about it and discussion over it, actually.
Primarily residential customer, individual water budgets, and also address how
Yeah.
the state is preparing water budgets for every water agency and how the two can interact.
Thank you.
I would say that I would not tie up the second evening meeting for July. The intent is that we would do one, if we were to do a couple July meetings a year, one would be day, one would be evening. And then in its place, maybe look for moderate interest to the public.
It's a good
It
idea.
could also be timely. The fire resiliency preparedness might be a good idea, but timing.
Yeah.
I mean, I totally, but I think like August, October would be.
That's good. Thank you.
I was going to say on the August one, we have this stormwater. What's happening with that? How is it helping them better?
You said that those end of school.
Is August early?
No, I have heard for the last 4 years. So.
All right.
I mean, honestly, I think we tried to tie these to topics that maybe WTBC was thinking about, or did we just kind of shove them into months?
Yeah, I just kind of put them in. Like I said,
Yeah, we're
this
just like, hey,
is completely subject to change. This was to get, brain juices pumping, thinking.
Yeah, are there any other topics?
Exactly. These aren't set in stone. April ones, kind of, because I'm setting up the speakers for that. But other than that, exactly.
Well, this is the primary forum, council meeting, the primary forum for Kevin Delaney, who is everybody on the status of the water boards.
Yep.
So we appropriately schedule that in and move very slowly. That's a critical interest in Kevin on the water. And then, something near and dear to my heart is that ongoing window and removal, pre-preservation efforts, board collaboration and support for that is something that scores on many levels for benefit of watersheds, species,
Yeah.
and everything else. So we should put that in there at some point. Share tips and practices and work towards that coordination permits and efforts and leveraging and supporting and all that good stuff on those critical efforts, commercial efforts.
They're very important in this watershed. Yes.
Or fires in it.
Or fire, I was thinking either or.
Touches on everything.
Yeah, it does.
What were your thoughts on water security?
I actually didn't come up with that one. Not to put Jamie on the spot here, but that was.
Just a general topic about water security, what we do locally to make sure that we have all of our, climate resiliency, all different factors that go into climate resiliency, whether we're moving forward on those or not, what are the funding opportunities available for broaden resiliency to enhance our security.
Yeah, just to give an update on, the CEDAS has been working on a comprehensive water resources plan, which has been going on for quite over a year, probably almost 2 years. And the draft plan should be out this spring for public review, and I know the board wants to have a public workshop on that. The date hasn't been set yet, so I need to, schedule something here before I really know when it's going to be coming out. But that is something that could be a topic related to water security, is going over the water resources plan that we've been working on.
Yeah, that'd be great, especially after you do that. Be involved with the general leadership would be awesome.
So related to that, I mean, you have the water resources plan, city, and then the urban water management plans due next July. And there's drought contingency plans, which are part of the requirements. So it seems like that would be a good subject down the road, probably for an evening meeting that the public would be invited to, because so much concern about the drought and how the impact of see this, and we're not really out in the woods yet. It looks like it's going to happen 6 weeks. But I think that is a really, really important subject for the public to stay kind of apprised of. And there's so many plans. The IRWM plans really have that much impact on individual customers' lives, but they're very concerned about water reliability, water security. I don't know if you want to break it into a CEDAS conversation, but I think a night meeting at some point to talk about drought contingency. Maybe it's to help advise the urban water management documents before they're done. Like, even if you came to the public and said, here's what we need in the drought contingency plan, here's what we're doing, if you have any questions. So it's usually urban water management plans don't generate that much public interest, but I think maybe they do in some of the others. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I've heard during the drought, our board meetings were totally packed when we were talking about the comprehensive water resources plan. And since I've joined in November, and we only have maybe one person showing up anymore to the board accepting that item. So.
I think it would make a great public meeting to have Ventura and the students. We do it all in one meeting, talk about the water resources. I think it would really help a lot of people in the watershed to get the big picture.
When our water resource contingency plans are linked, our supply shortage is linked to the CEDAS, and we are subject to their drought measures, and those are incorporated into ours. So I don't think a lot of people understand that, but it's true.
And Ventura River Watershed too. It really should be an annual topic.
Yeah, it just demonstrates that there's a link in all of us. We understand keeping all that together.
I like the idea of an annual update. You talk about what your water supply is this year, where we're headed, what we're doing, what the future projects are, and why, and how they're all linked together. I think that's definitely.
The projects part is really important. too, I was just gonna add that United put on a large sustainability summit last Friday and had United staff kind of go over some of the big ticket projects, which they can't really do by themselves. So there's more discussion about kind of regional collaboration around projects, types of projects and things. So definitely we want, I think, to highlight where the keystone projects and what type of water develop, and particularly this intertie project, bring water in from Vegas and agencies that have a time that they're using now. I think the public is very, I think, wants to know what's happening with it. The EIR has been out, but I don't know how much the public's engaged.
Right. I think the earliest we would be able to talk about our comprehensive plan would be the April meeting, but if we already have speakers, June might be a good time for us to do.
June's a good time to get pictures.
But you also, and it may be that, especially if the council's trying to go to 7 meetings, or 8 meetings that would be appropriate.
We're planning to do a public workshop, and so maybe once we've got that organized, I can share the information with the council for distribution to help with conveying the message out that we're hosting a public meeting or a public workshop. I mean, all of our, we've had probably, 12 public meetings through our normal venue at the district, but this is going to be just a place where it's more of a workshop forum. And having this group, help us with, distributing the information. You guys want to do it instead of taking up one and go. So I'm not sure how the timing is going to work out with the regular schedule for these meetings, but I think having involvement.
Yeah, and then maybe it's just that rather than have that meeting be your public meeting, just a presentation to I'd also suggest too that this leadership council devote like a half hour or an hour to this topic at the beginning of each year, where rather than everybody can figure out what their needs might be for the upcoming year, that they can continue with those needs for this scheduling. Because I think that's one way that this council becomes a great value for
Yeah.
They're meeting some of their needs.
Great idea.
Yeah, built-in signal.
Yeah, we invite you guys to come do these presentations and discussions, just send us an email and we will fit it in.
Well, just before we leave this topic, so for scheduling wise, our comprehensive water resources plan, which lays out projects water supplies for the current year as well as the future, and projects demands and establishes what stage of our water resources plan we're going to be in for the next fiscal year. We're going to be approving that most likely at a May city council meeting. So, by June we could spread those results out and give a presentation on that report and where we're at, water supply demand wise. Yeah, it's an annual report that we do. In the past 2 years, it hasn't been approved until June, but this year we're anticipating potential change in stage. And so we want to give it, need more time. If that stage change happens, we need more time to implement it. So we are having city council in May. Normally they approve in June, but I think we'll in the future, the May is better. It's a little more difficult.
Just, same question for you, see this every way for schedule for that.
So I'm relatively new to Rosita's. I know every month we have a discussion that's a more informational thing, it's not a full report. But every month we update our current water supply status with the board. It's not necessarily a report or a presentation.
It's something,
I think the timing after the rainy season, you have a better sense of where you stand. So I like the timing of May or June, because nothing's going to change much over the summer. So
Something you like to add, past, we often have several small things on the agenda. So if one of these topics isn't a meeting board, we can have other topics that we can fill in. Someone talk about rainwater capture, ocean-friendly gardens, or beavers in the watershed.
Yeah, please.
So fun time.
Yeah, please send us ideas as you think about it. Just send an email. We'll start organizing it. Please do. Even if it's a one-liner.
I was also thinking, would it be a benefit for us to put this general agenda up on Google Drive and then have everybody contribute where they would like bullet points to that document? We thought the agenda, and if everybody is all shared, then you can see everyone's comments, and we can suggest those changes. Just not like that one to that.
Have a living document.
Living document.
And also, two coordinating Ventura River Watershed Committee is on a separate app. They have sometimes similar, like the last meeting last week, we had Kyle from the Conservation Corps talk about their still head. And a lot of the projects that they're working on are actually this watershed. So he gave a really good presentation about kind of an update on where they're at. And so that makes me think about for the general membership meetings for the Watershed Coalition, like which topics make more sense to do on a regional level with all three watersheds present versus what makes sense to do first. I met with Andy and Jamie last year about what does our schedule look like, and we kind of talked about some of those topics. And some of them maybe need to do regionally and in the watershed, but the climate adaptation subject, actually I've been talking to Nina Oakley, who's, who you remember was one of the climatologists that worked on the climate impact study, and they want to come back and do a more public discussion about their study. And we thought we could also get some updates on new information that they might have access to, and then talk about adaptation to those specific impact areas. So we were first talking, we talked about this in the Senate Fair meeting last week about having that meeting in May, but subsequently talking to a couple of people, including Glenn Shepard, thought maybe we should move that into September, where we have more time to prepare. So we're thinking of doing a regional meeting where we bring Nina and Ben back, and we talk about adaptation in the watersheds for each kind of maybe do a little updated component to that. But I don't know if you want to still have one for just the watershed, or you want to wait and have some more regional discussion. So.
Well, I mean, I think having access to all that information in one document where the entire district community can see what else is going on in the watershed, because it is important, obviously, for those who are grassroots and local. You know, we need a forum for ourselves, but this is region, so we want to be able to coordinate efforts in addition. And we can't all be at the different watershed meetings, so I think it would be nice to be able to have that thought and have that there and show things around. So,
Okay. I'll share a document with everyone after. We haven't had anything lined up for fire resiliency yet. It was just a topic that I thought would be a good topic to discuss. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, so if you have any speaker recommendations, feel free.
Ojai Varsity Council's put out the type of stuff.
Okay.
What maybe, what's spurred that thought was, one of the notions is that we should so that there are big power outages. Just a new guy comment, the adjudication, any one of these meetings could be hijacked by people that are just freaking out, especially about the adjudication.
Well, I was gonna offer, I don't think they know it's a sensitive subject and going to have more discussion on it, but in the June timeframe, I mean, we're gonna be having some more meetings and it's gonna be a topic. And so have to go back and formulate something and talk to the budget group, but I think it's probably appropriate in the near future to have to provide an update and have a discussion on how those efforts relate to the Watershed Council, because I do see nexus, and I think in the next 6 months, that nexus will be clear. And so we can have a discussion. I think we need to have a discussion about that, or you're going to have. But I guess my concern was, once you do that, then I think you could raise the possibility of those folks coming to meetings more often. So I'm sensitive to whether or not people want to keep those meetings separate or combine them with this one. But I'm just saying we are going to be doing some public information in the spring and late spring and summer. And so to the extent that this wants to coordinate with that, we can discuss that.
Well, and then the other piece of that is also, I went to the Green Drinks thing last Monday, and the whole primary water, kind of not a hydrogeologist, but I live there with a lot of, I had to ship a lot, some things that are pretty out in the world. So just the swirl of controversy and uncertainty is what I'm seeing a lot of.
I'm wondering if with the topic of education, at some point maybe down the road, like to have just kind of a standing item on the agenda that's like a 15-minute facts update. If people want to like get into it, then the response kind of this is the forum for that. What we're trying to do is just like this, where we're at in the process. Just without being beneficial, just to kind of acknowledge that it's ongoing and
Things like that.
Yeah, I think it's essential. I think one of the more interesting topics, going to that April meeting is how adjudication dovetails with SIGMA and how those work together. Whether you have lawyers or water managers or whoever is talking about that, it's pretty complex, but I think it's important to kind of work through that so that we can develop a common understanding.
And now it will be right. I agree with you, and we are working on that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're gonna be ready, but we have some more discussions we need to have with the VSA. They're legal counsel issues, and so I don't know if we're ready to have that conversation.
I think we probably need to be ready to say we're not ready to have.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna talk about Sigma, we can talk about, generally speaking, what the nexus is with the adjudication, but we won't have like, most likely will not have a, this is what we're doing, conversation. Anything is being said.
Oh, no, that's the whole point. It hasn't not been decided.
I mean, it's definitely been, it's acknowledged and considered in our discussions, but it's not a simple.
Well,
We did that first last week.
Right.
So there is no precedent.
But that in itself is a significant topic. this watershed is significant statewide. The council members need to understand that. The other thing is, as Steve mentioned, members really know that actually VFW might have their instrument flow study like it. I think that's usually the case, right? Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
You know, we're all waiting with bated breath to see what that says. If Kevin or if DFW is ready by then.
I mean, again, these are a minimum number of topics. We can certainly have a special topic that deals with signal. I think that having discussion about education coming on the heels of discussion and maybe continue that conversation and include education. So, I mean, that can certainly be sort of a standalone thing that we get into here. And I would say that given that there are conversations going on throughout the watershed about these topics, that we as a council, you know, it's up to us to decide that we're the center of mass. So we need to make sure we bring those conversations here under the civil sort of arrangement, conversation, discussion, so that people have a chance to actually hear from a large group, not just those elements that are out there beyond the core of what the general thoughts are. I think it's our responsibility to make sure that we identify it.
I'd like to suggest that all of us think about, you know, topics that we should cover every year or two and email them in. Like I'm thinking it'd be nice to hear from the land conservancy folks. What are their objectives for the next couple of years? What interesting things are they working on? I think it'd be good for people to hear from the Watershed Protection District, what work they're doing for the stormwater treatment program. How does that affect things in the valley, in the watershed, flood protection? What? And people, it happens all the time all around us, but most people don't know what to do. I think an update on the nutrient study / septic tank analysis. That's been going on for a couple of years. It'd be nice to have updates on the progress of that. I think it'd be good for people to have an update periodically on the steelhead. So we have a good background analysis of the life cycle of steelhead and the current status of steelhead. I think we could, you know, something like that. So I think we should all think about what are these topics for the watershed. So, folks ought to get an update on, and there might be something where we have a 20-minute presentation at least once a year. So I'll think about some, I'll email them in, so we do have a nice list.
Even if you just like have that for
Yeah, exactly.
like at the top.
Yeah.
And that's how it's been managed in the state of the past. We get 2 or 3 main topics per meeting.
Yep.
And to me, the fire resiliency and preparedness is the lowest priority of what we've got out there. So others brought up higher priorities. Adjust appropriately. Occasionally you have meetings with chief topics.
Yeah, these are just one topic. But yeah, we usually do 2 to 3 topics in a meeting, so it's more than acceptable. Great way to get engagement.
And I would also suggest just, you know, make sure to look back through the watershed management plan, you know, see how that stuff ties together to that document, because it would be nice to just touchstone on that. This is where we were, this is where we are.
You more than just, well, I'm just saying, we could do, it doesn't have to be. 20 presentation.
Appropriate for the watershed. So, oriented meeting is very important topic. clearly, it's just a venue for it. The watershed is also an management. I was just saying, to me, it's a lower priority. When everybody sends in their list of priorities, maybe you send them in priority order.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm gonna create that Google Doc, so let's save the emails until I get that Google Doc out, just so I don't get a lot of them, and I would love to get all of them, and I'll go through all of them, but I'll get that Google Doc going up by early next week, if not later today. And I'll get that going.
Every meeting,
Exactly.
updates, every year updates.
Yeah, I'll make it pretty comprehensive, please add categories that you see fit, and we'll have different subjects per meeting, topics, so it's not just one overarching discussion, so.
Yeah, and feel free to insert comments, just so people have an idea what you're thinking or whatever.
Oh yeah, this is, yeah.
We're just looking for people's honest input.
Yeah, and like we said, this creates us more relevant and importance in the watershed, and it gives us better involvement with everyone. So thank you for that discussion. Really good discussion, everyone. I appreciate it. All of you guys. All right, wrapping stuff up. Thank you again for coming and joining today. I have a list of updates I'll be sending out next week to everyone. Make sure to get Paul's letter of support request real soon and distribute that. Think about presenting, as we've discussed, on your own topic at a meeting. Send agenda items, open emails, add spam filters, update us on any kind of changes that you have as soon as you can. All right, well, thank you, everyone. That will be all.
I just wanted to announce, I think I sent an email out, but we're having our next general membership for the Watershed on 25th, which is Wednesday of this month. And the focus of that meeting is going to be on the statewide water resilience portfolio and the future of IRWM, why efforts going, and the collaboration between the watersheds. So that'll be a really pretty much focused conversation. There'll be maybe one or two quick business items for the budget and work plan for the coming year, but mostly it will be a discussion that we want to get everybody engaged in contributing to. So please plan to get that meeting at 3 o'clock, multi-purpose room at the county center. I'll send out more.
Please, yeah. All right. April 2nd is, I believe it's April 2nd, that first Thursday. I have it up on the website. Let me double check real quick. So yeah, April 2nd is that first Thursday, 9 o'clock meeting. Yes, it will be here. I'll send an update in about another week or so with an agenda and an announcement to the list server and all that good stuff. All right, well, thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have a good weekend. Thank you.
Oh,
Yes, yours.
I think the issue.
Yeah, this is your goal. So we can get but this is the second step. You are. They started in October.